Welcome to the training presentation on retention schedules and overview. This presentation is brought to you by the Arizona State Library Archives and Public Records, a division of the Arizona Office of the Secretary of State. Whether this is your first time learning about retention schedules or you're looking to refresh your understanding, this session is designated to give you foundational knowledge, practical tools, and insights that you can apply right away. Before we dive into the content, let's take a moment to look at what you'll be able to do by the end of this training presentation. First, you'll be able to define what a retention schedule is and explain why it is a critical part of managing organizational records. We'll explore how it supports compliance, efficiency, and accountability. Next, you'll learn to distinguish between a general and custom retention schedule, understanding when each is used and how they differ in scope and application. You'll also gain the skills to read and interpret the components of a retention schedule so that you can confidently navigate categories, timeframes, and disposition instructions. We'll cover the 5-year review process, helping you understand how and why retention schedules are periodically evaluated and updated. And finally, you'll be equipped to apply retention schedule principles to your own work area, ensuring that records are managed appropriately and consistently across your organization. These learning objectives will guide this session and help you build practical, actionable knowledge. Let's start with the basics. What exactly is a retention schedule? A retention schedule is a formal document that outlines how long different types of records must be kept before they can be legally destroyed or transferred to the state archives. It's essentially a roadmap for managing records responsibly, ensuring that you meet legal, regulatory, and operational requirements. Here's a breakdown of the key components of a retention schedule. Record series number or category. These group similar types of records together, like HR, financial, or board meeting minutes. Retention periods. This includes both the active phase, when records are still being used regularly, and the inactive phase, when they are kept for reference or compliance but aren't actively being used. Disposition actions. Once the retention period ends, records are either destroyed or transferred to the state archives, or they are retained permanently, depending on their value and legal requirements. Legal and regulatory citations. These provide any justification for how long a record must be kept, based on any applicable laws, regulations, or policies. Approval authorities. These are the individuals or bodies responsible for reviewing and approving the retention schedule to ensure it aligns with organizational and legal standards. Understanding these components is key to using retention schedules effectively and confidently. They help us to stay compliant, reduce unnecessary storage, and preserve records of long-term value. Now that we know what a retention schedule is, let's talk about why it matters, because it's not just a bureaucratic checklist. It plays a vital role in how we manage information. Let's look at 3 key areas where retention schedules make a real impact. Legal compliance. Retention schedules help us meet regulatory requirements by ensuring records are kept for the legally mandated timeframes. This protects the organization from penalties and litigation risks and shows that we've exercised due diligence in managing our records responsibly. Operational efficiency. By following retention schedules, we can reduce storage costs, both physical and digital, by eliminating records that no longer need to be kept. It also helps us improve information retrieval, making it easier to find what we need when we need it. And overall, it helps streamline records management processes, saving time and resources. Risk management. Retention schedules are also a key part of protecting your organization. They help safeguard sensitive information, ensure business continuity by preserving critical records, and support audit and discovery processes when records are needed for internal review or legal proceedings. So whether it's compliance, efficiency, or risk mitigation, retention schedules are a foundational tool that supports the integrity and effectiveness of our entire records management strategy. As we move deeper into retention schedules, it's important to understand the difference between general and custom schedules, because choosing the right type can make a big difference in how effectively records are managed. General retention schedules are designed to apply broadly across all state and local agencies. They cover common record types like payroll, meeting minutes, and travel reimbursements. And they provide baseline retention requirements that are often mandated by law or regulation. The advantages of the general schedule include a standardized approach that promotes consistency. They're easier to implement and monitor, especially for staff who may not specialize in records management. And they help reduce complexity, making compliance more straightforward. Custom retention schedules, on the other hand, are tailored to a specific agency or department. They're designed to address unique operational requirements and may include longer periods than what is found on the general schedule. Because of their specific nature, they require specialized knowledge to develop and maintain. So when should you use a custom schedule? When your agency has unique business processes that aren't listed on the general schedule. When you're managing high risk or high value records that require specialized handling. For research and development materials, which may have long-term strategic importance. Or for intellectual property documentation, which often needs extended retention for legal and business reasons. Understanding when and how to use each type of schedule ensures that records are managed appropriately, without over-retaining or under-retaining critical information. Let's walk through the key components of a retention schedule so that you know exactly how to read and apply one in your work area. Label 1. Retention Schedule Title. This is the name of the schedule and gives you a quick idea of the agency, division, or audience it covers. Custom schedules will have the agency and department name here. Label 2. Business Function or Unit. This identifies the broader operational area the records support, such as administrative and management records, contract records, financial records, etc. It helps align the schedule with the organization's core functions. Label 3. Division or Department. Here it will specify the exact unit responsible for maintaining the records. This ensures accountability and clarity about who manages what. Label 4. Record Series Number or RSN, Title, and Description. This is a critical section. The RSN is a unique identifier for tracking purposes. The title names the record type and the description explains what the records include, so you can be sure you're applying the schedule to the right materials. Label 5. Retention period and retention remarks. This tells you how long the records must be kept, including any special conditions or exceptions. It covers both the active and inactive phases of the record's life cycle. Label 6. Legal citations. These are the laws, regulations, or policies that justify the retention requirements. They are especially important for compliance and audit purposes. Label 7. Approval date. This is the date that the RSN in question was most recently approved. Retention schedules are a permanent retention for our agency, therefore you can always contact LAPR if you need to know a retention period from a previous date. Now that we've covered how to interpret retention schedules, let's take a closer look at the retention schedule review process, a vital component of any agency's records management strategy. Retention schedule reviews should be conducted at least every 5 years. This ensures that our practices remain current, compliant, and aligned with both legal requirements and operational needs. By reassessing record series, citations, and storage methods, we maintain a system that's not only efficient, but also legally sound. Now let's walk through the key steps in the review process, as outlined in the graphic on the right. 1. Contact the designated agency records officer. Every agency should have a designated records officer. This individual is responsible for managing and submitting any changes to the agency's retention schedule. 2. Gather applicable retention schedules. Collect all relevant, general, and custom schedules to ensure a comprehensive review. This includes both agency-specific and statewide schedules. 3. Conduct a records inventory assessment. Review existing records to identify obsolete items, update legal citations, add new record series, and document any organizational name changes. 4. Interview subject matter experts. Engage with departmental experts to gather detailed insight about how records types, ownership, and storage locations work. Their input is crucial for accuracy. 5. Hold an initial meeting with LAPR. Begin the formal review process with Records Management Branch at LAPR. 6. Submit proposed revisions. Present your recommended changes to LAPR for review. Please be sure to include all necessary documentation. 7. Obtain final approval from LAPR. Once reviewed, LAPR will provide final approval for the updated retention schedule. 8. Distribute updated schedules. Share the approved schedule across your agency to ensure everyone is informed and aligned. 9. Ensure compliance. Implement the new schedule and provide training as needed to support proper records management practices. 10. Commit to periodic review. Remember, this isn't a one-time task. Agencies should revisit and update their schedule at least every 5 years to stay compliant and efficient. Here are some extra tips when submitting a retention schedule change template. Always include a reason for any revision or retirement of a record series. This keeps everything transparent. If a statute explicitly defines retention requirements, be sure to include the legal citation in your request for changes. As we wrap up today's presentation and move on to questions, I want to leave you with some practical tips for applying retention schedule principles directly to your work area. First and foremost, know your records. Take time to identify what types of records your team creates and maintains, whether they're digital files, paper documents, or emails. Understanding what you have is the foundation of good records management. Next, use the retention schedules as your guide. Every record should align with the designated series in the general schedule or your agency's custom schedule. This helps ensure consistency and compliance across the agency. It's also important to document ownership. Make sure it's clear who is responsible for each record type, especially when it comes to updates, storage, and eventual destruction or disposition. Speaking of dispositions, follow retention timelines carefully. Retaining records longer than necessary can lead to unnecessary risk and cost. On the flip side, disposing of records too early can result in compliance issues. To stay organized, label and structure your records in a way that makes them easy to locate and manage. Consistent naming conventions and folder systems go a long way. For sensitive information, secure it appropriately. Whether it's personnel files or confidential reports, make sure access is limited and storage is secure. And don't forget to schedule regular reviews and cleanups. Periodic reviews help you stay on top of retention timelines and avoid clutter. Finally, when in doubt, ask your agency's designated records officer. They are your go-to resource for interpreting the schedule and ensuring your practices are aligned with agency standards. By applying these principles, you're not just following policy, you're contributing to more efficient, compliant, and accountable organizations. Thank you for your attention today and for your commitment to responsible records management.